never slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
Man, oh man, ladies and gentlemen, this one hurts. We just got done talking about Frank Ragnow this morning, and I can confirm that everybody in the media, everybody doing content, anybody and everybody talking NFL, missed it. Completely missed it. You know, we probably should have read the tea leaves last year, and we kind of did. I'm sorry, 2 seasons ago when Frank was making the comments that he did after the NFC Championship, which I mentioned this morning, how he was putting out the vibes he was going to retire then. Probably convinced himself, others convinced him to put one more season in, at least. You know what's funny is last year I said, if the Lions don't win a Super Bowl this year, I thought Frank would retire. And then as he got through the season, healthy compared to previous seasons, it was not even a thought in my mind that Frank would retire. So I'm going to take Frank at his word, right? Let's just bring his word in and talk about it before I just go off track. Okay, Frank Ragnow announces retirement. It is Monday, June 2nd, 2025. After the close of initial OTAs, voluntary OTAs that Frank was not a part of, speculated that there was contract disputes. But instead, here's what Frank says. These past couple of months have been very trying as I've come to the realization that my football journey is ending and I'm officially retiring from the NFL. I've tried to convince myself that I'm feeling good, but I'm not. And it's time to prioritize my health and my family's future. I have given this team everything I have, and I thought that I had more to give. But the reality is, I simply don't. I have to listen to my body, and this has been one of the hardest decisions of my life. The Lions organization has been absolutely incredible throughout this process, and I cannot emphasize this enough, how grateful I am for this team and all the fans. It was an absolute honor going to battle for you all. I mean, I honestly just, it's hard to want to fight back tears for this dude because, you know, some of us have been through a lot. All of us have been through something, and it's the words that he's given everything that he has and that he thought that he had more to give. I mean, that's a battle that I know all too well. And like I said, a lot of us have been through some things, some of us more than others. So that one hits hard. And I get it. Frank has had let's just be real. He's had the shit kicked out of him the last couple of seasons. And that's because of the player that he is, right? The person that he is, who he is to this team and what his teammates mean to him. Your average player doesn't do that, right? Frank is different. Frank's going out on his own shield, right? He's going out on his own path, right? He's putting the stake in the ground and saying enough is enough. I am curious, you know, what part of him is not feeling the greatest right now, right? Is he banged up mentally? Is he banged up mentally and physically? Is he banged up physically? I'm sure it's a combination of all the above. So, Frank, man, look, my hardest heart felt sympathies because of what you're going through, number one. Number two, I wish you nothing but the best, man, catching those 10-pound bass out there, having fun with hopefully your Grizzly Man Outdoors, you know, venture, and hope to see that continue. And that we get at least a spotlight into your life as you move forward. But yeah, this one hurts. Like, so there's the business of football. There's being a fan, which clearly I am right now. Is just I'm a big time fan of Frank. big time fan of Frank. I know I haven't talked about him enough. I haven't talked about him clearly enough, but he's just one of those guys that he's everything that you want as a football player, as a teammate. And I'm glad to see that he's put the Lions in a good light, that they've been great, through all of this. So now let me go through some speculation. Okay. I was doing some yard work when this popped out. I mean, literally a couple hours ago, a bunch of people were reaching out to me, wondering if I had seen it. I just came in. I literally just washed my face, threw on a shirt and a hat to jump in front of you guys because I was out full of freaking manure, planting canna lilies all over my yard. So that's how important this is to me, and I wanted to talk about it right now. The business side of this tells me that Frank has been having conversations, allegedly, I'm guessing here, that Frank has probably been having conversations for a while with himself, with the team, with his family. And it kind of makes a little bit more sense as to why Tate Ratledge was taken so early. And why they also took another lineman later on in the draft. It also makes sense as to why Giovanni Manu was working out with Taylor Decker. We starting to put the pieces together now? Are we getting it? Right? At least I am, I think. That this has probably been set in stone for a few months. If we know who Frank is, which I think he's probably one of the most stand-up dudes out there, he probably told his teammates, look, this is what I'm going through. You guys need to do whatever you can to put this team together. Put it on your back. It's your team now. It's your offensive line. Frank was the leader of that offensive line. It's now Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker for them to get this offensive line together. This is a unit. This is a family. And I'm guessing again, that he probably went to these guys and said, you need to now do this. Taking Giovanni Manu under Taylor Decker's wing. I think when we look back now, hindsight being 2020, what it is, that's probably what was going on. So now Tate Ratledge taking snaps in rookie minicamp. Look, that's going to happen. We expect that stuff. Now we could probably go back and look at all of the conversations that Brad Holmes has had and Dan Campbell has had with the media availability, and you could probably start to pick it apart. There's probably some nuggets there that would point to maybe something's going on, but man, do they do a great job at steering you away from anything. They did a wonderful job keeping this under wraps. And I think that is the right way to do it. It gave Frank peace to decide what he needed to do. So that's a big congratulations. I mean, to Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, and the rest of that team to make sure they gave Frank his grace and his time to decide what he needed to do. So I think that there was probably some conversations going on well before this. My concern is minimal, okay? And at the same time, it's a lot. Frank is, just go watch the tape, man. Like, Frank is so good at what he does and so selfless. Like, probably one of the most unselfish players on this team. The way that he puts his body out there, first and foremost, but the way he plays the game. And I mean, you can just see when he's freeing up Jameer and he's getting into that second level, or he's turning and taking on, a linebacker that's crushing down and he's already engaged. I mean, he'll pick up 2 or 3 blocks on a play. There's not many centers that can do that. There's not that many centers that are that agile. Frank can move flat out. So to replace Frank, yeah, that's going to be a problem. And that's going to be a problem that won't be settled probably until next year. However, Graham Glasgow is now your center for this season. He's definitely going to be sliding in. This was never about a contract. I don't think that you could give him enough money. And maybe it is. Maybe the retirement's smoke and mirrors, right? You're going to have some people that are going to push that narrative that, he knows that he's not going to get the money. He knows that the Lions can't pay him what he wants or what he deserves, right? You're going to hear that. You're going to see that. I'm going to take Frank at his word. Well, like I was saying, Graham's going to be your center. And look, Tate's going to be starting year one. Tate Ratledge is going to be sliding in probably at the right guard position. And Christian Mahogany right now is the clear starter as the left guard. So thank goodness he got some experience last year. And thank goodness we got a second-round dog in Tate Ratledge that can come in and start right away. And if there's any issues with Graham at center, then I feel confident that we have a couple of guys behind him. This is going to totally shake up the depth chart, and I do believe it's going to shake up the 90-man roster because the Lions are not going to go into this season without having an extra lineman. So from whatever I put out earlier in the season for early depth chart calls, that's going to change now. I don't think the Lions are going to have any less than 10 offensive linemen on this roster come 53-man cut day. And they're probably going to be potentially making a trade. I would say that if they're going to look around and try to find a center, I would say making a trade is probably the best option for them right now. There's nobody on the market. Matter of fact, I did a quick look in the few seconds that I've had before I hit the mic. There's some centers available, and I don't even know who these people are. Honestly, no clue who these guys are. David Andrews, Daniel Brunskill, and Nick Harris. Dan Feeney. I mean, those are the guys that have probably been around the longest. Nick Gates. And don't even tell me, I better not see this, that they're going to pull Jason Kelsey out of retirement to come play center for the Lions. If I see that flying around, and now that I've said it, it's probably going to fly around, not happening. That dude's not going to come out of retirement. And if he did, I think he'd probably go play for the Eagles, even though they don't need a center now. So I guess I'm going to put it in the chat, and we'll put it up to you guys in the comments later. How concerned are you over the offensive line losing a huge piece? 1 to 10, 10 being extremely concerned, and, number 1 being not as concerned, right? Not concerned at all. Jody Carruthers just dropped in a super chat for $10. Says, thank you for covering this story. Losing Frank is going to hurt. Yeah, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt big time. Peter Van Larhoven put in a 0, man. 0. Even better than a 1. 0 concern. Art Vandelay says 8. Look, I'm right there with you. I'm probably at a 5, honestly. I'm probably right in the middle. I think that Graham did a wonderful job backing up, when Frank had some issues in 2023. And I think that that's going to be the Graham that we get this year. I'm hoping. I'm really hoping. I'm not sure what this conversation is in the chat about Brad Holmes not being a top 5 GM. I don't know. I'm not sure why we're talking about that. I mean, I don't know what Brad has done wrong in this situation. I don't think Brad's done anything wrong in this situation, honestly. But I think that, a lot of people probably understood what was happening in the building. Again, I'll go back to what I said a little while ago, so I'll put myself on repeat. I firmly believe, now I'm speculating, people in the building knew months ago, before the draft. I bet you they knew. And the reason why I say that, just look at how the Lions drafted. They grabbed 2 offensive linemen. I wouldn't say that would have been the plan had Frank had 0 concern about playing this year. It's just crazy. We covered it this morning. And the speculation, out of Detroit from all of the mainstream media was that Frank was pissed off about his contract. How did they miss it all? So we base our assumptions and cover it based on what, they're thinking. And like I said this morning, what was the one thing that I said this morning about both players, Alex Anzalone and Frank? Has Frank or his agent stepped up to a mic or talked to any media member and said that he wanted more money? And the guy that I spoke with, the guy that I go to, a former executive that always does a good job, giving me information, said he doesn't hear anything about Frank wanting to be the highest, paid guy in the NFL. and speculated that if a deal was needed to get done, that they would just guarantee what he had, add a year on, and push the numbers around a little bit. So even he didn't even think this was really about money. But if it came down to money, the Lions could make it happen. This is truly about Frank and his body and wanting to do right by himself and his family. I think that's it. And I'm not going to say Brad Holmes made a mistake here. What could he have done? Right? The only thing that he could have done is move up to get Gray Zabel in the first round. That's it. I mean, what other centers were really available in this last draft that really moved the needle for you? Honestly, let me look, because I don't, outside of Gray Zabel, in my opinion, being the only guy that could have potentially been a really good, first round center. Like you're really reaching for centers in the 2025 NFL draft. But let me just take a quick peek. So you had Jared Wilson out of Georgia. You had Jake Majors out of, looks like, Longhorns. And Seth McLaughlin out of Ohio State. Might have been your top three guys. And Jared Wilson went to the Patriots, right? Didn't he go to the Patriots? Yeah, so he went to the Patriots in round 3, pick 31. So, I mean, at the very end of round 3. That is right where we were picking up, Isaac Tesla, right? So we took a receiver versus taking a center. I mean, you maybe could have made an argument. The Lions could have ended up with Tate Ratledge in round 2 and then his buddy Jared Wilson in round 3. I mean, that could have been a home run play. But I don't think Brad is going to change up his drafting on need, right? I think he's always told us that. And he knew that he had Graham Glasgow waiting in the wings and drafting Tate Ratledge, knowing that Tate can play center as well. I think he feels pretty confident. Plus the other two guys that we have, Michael Neese and Kingsley? Is it Kingsley Aguakan? I think those are the two guys that we have at the center position. So, man, I don't even know how many people are in right now because I don't have it up. But I would love to get your speculation. I guess if that's the word I want to use. Let me dial back these ads so you guys aren't getting crushed. I would love to get your speculation on if you think the Lions are going to push for a trade before camp starts. Do you think that Brad's shopping right now? I'm sure we're going to see a video tonight or tomorrow that, somebody knows that Brad's on the phone with somebody or a phone call just happened and yada, yada, yada. The number one center in the league is going to come to Detroit for a second round pick in 2026. Someone's going to do it. I promise you. Someone will. It just won't be us. But what do you guys think? Do you think that Brad's going to push for a trade this year, or do you think he's going to be just fine? You think the team is just fine? Let's see. Jody says 50-50. Brian Ruth says no reason to trade with Graham and the rookies. Good points. Good points. Salty says I think Miles Frazier is going to be groomed to be a center. I think so too. Matter of fact, let's pull it up. So let me do you guys a solid. Let me just pull up some of these guys' snap counts. I can't remember the last time Miles Frazier played center. When he played center, how many snaps? Excuse me, I can't talk right now. When he played center, how many snaps did he play? I'm almost positive though he didn't do anything in the collegiate years, but he might have prior to that. So it looks like Fraley's had him cross-trained just like everybody else. So his familiarity with center is going to be what's happening right now. Nothing at the collegiate level that I'm seeing. And yeah, here's a statement right here. He has not played center during his collegiate career, although he did state that he was open to learning it. Now, this was back on the 6th of May, 2026. So I'm wondering. Okay, here's a statement. This is interesting. Hold on. Let me back this up. This is by Tim Twentyman. And you know Tim is in kind of deep. Like, he's the guy that would know more information than anybody. So when it comes to the newest additions to the Detroit Lions offensive line room, 2nd-round pick Tate Ratledge and 5th-round pick Miles Frazier, cross-training the two primary guards with some work at center is expected to be part of their early training. Uh-oh. So all the way back in early May 6th, look, you can point to the fact that, you know, these guys knew what was going on. It looks like someone's trying to call the show. I don't have the line open right now. If you just want to drop in the chat who's calling, I can try to get my line back up and get you on, but I don't have it connected right now. I apologize. So, you know, back then, I think that was kind of softballing it to us fans, saying, hey, potentially something's going to be happening pretty soon, and these guys are going to get cross-trained. Read into it however you want to read into it, okay? Goes on to say the Ratledge played almost exclusively right guard for Georgia with 37 starts. Frazier played both guard spots and right tackle at LSU over 39 starts in Baton Rouge. Neither played center, however. Quote, Hank, he'll cross-train all these guys. This is what General Manager Brad Holmes said after the draft. So, quote, if they've only been at guard, he's going to put a ball between their legs and see if they can snap. But again, Hank's not going to put somebody in a tough position either. So he's going to be able to assess if they have the right makeup and mentality and communicative skills. That's a big part. That's a big part of it. It's not about just being able to snap. I mean, you have to have the elite communication skills, not just as a starter, but even as a backup. I mean, there was the red lights right there. I mean, come on, people. Like that, there it is. They're talking a lot about center back in the early parts of May, and we missed it. We totally didn't break down any of this because there was nothing being talked about. But if you go back and pick apart some of these quotes and what's being put out there, I mean, I know that Frank is always, he's always cross-trained these guys. Haley, excuse me. He's always cross-trained these guys. But this year was even more so important because of what was about to happen. Trying to read through some of the comments as quickly as I can. Yeah, so Nick P was saying in the chat that Tate Ratledge is the one that would be starting at center. Right now, it's Graham Glasgow. That's what's already been spoken, is that Graham is going to be the starter. One of those guys is going to have to unseat him. And to be honest with you, if we were to have a constructive conversation about it, here's what I would say. I wouldn't take a guy that has never played center and put him into an unfamiliar position his first year in the league versus a guy that has played center quite a bit, especially in college at U of M. But Graham Glasgow's played a ton of center in his life. So I think that that's the easy fit, right? You're not going against the grain, especially with rookies who, I mean, kind of fragile, but not, you know what I'm saying? They're a little bit fragile. You don't want to screw them all up in their rookie year. So from what I understand, it is Graham. I mean, Graham is the guy. They're going to get all of these guys an opportunity. I can guarantee you that. Everyone is going to be snapping the ball, probably even Jake Bates. I'm just kidding, but you get the point, right? So going back to some of this, I wasn't even done with this. He said, Tate Ratledge, when he was brought into the team, said, quote, "I'm here to do whatever helps the team win. I'm a team player through and through. They need me to kick out at tackle, I'll go kick out at tackle. They need me to be an X receiver, and I'll go run balls. I can do that." And then he says, quote, "I think it's down to what they need me to do and what they see me as. And then, like I said earlier, I just want a chance to compete and a chance to go out there and do my best every day. That's really all I'm into right now." Good stuff by Tate. Really, really good stuff. And then moving forward, I mean, this is the stuff that kind of is like, oh, wait a minute. Frazier said this: "If anything happens at any moment, I'm able to jump to left side, left guard, right tackle, left tackle. The only position I haven't played is center. But I'm open to do that." So, I mean, you just got to read the tea leaves, right? And then he goes on to say this. But I would say, this quote, and also not a lot of people know, but I was the backup. I was the starting right guard, but the backup tackle on both sides. So my coaches put a lot of trust in me to have the versatility at the highest level, and I feel like I can definitely do that. We have some really good offensive linemen, ladies and gentlemen. We really do. Giovanni Manu could end up being the steal of last year's draft. He really could. Miles Frazier could be the steal of this year's draft. Christian Mahogany could end up being a steal from last year's draft. All of our linemen are deep. They're good. They're versatile. And we have like 3.5 centers right now on this team. And I think that no matter what happens, they'll get it figured out. So I'll take a couple of quick questions. I'm not going to be able to get this line on because I got to get out of here. We got some wrapping and packing to do and things to get shipped out. I will get phone lines open for tomorrow morning. We do want to do a segment where we're going to take some questions for Corey, and that way you guys can call in. It's going to be a window of time that you can call in, and that's it. So if you don't call in and get your questions in, then it's too bad, right? So I'll take a couple quick questions, pump it into the chat, and then I got to sign off, and I got to go plant more flowers. Looks like Peter Van Lauerman says, Nice is young, and he made the active roster every game. Let's give him a shot. Hey, that's a good point, Peter. That's a good point. I got a question for you, Peter. That's probably the one thing I might struggle with. Like, if I wanted to go look and see who was active for each game, like, where's the best place to go and find that info? I have every other stat you can think of. Pay for all of these different services, but like that one has always escaped me. Even on game day, like I'm the last to know, it seems like, who's been scratched. Kevin Barr, yes, we are live right now. Yes, sir. Are you alive right now, Kevin? Or are you just dreaming this? Funny Boy Rhodey says, do you think that the Detroit Lions offensive line is still top 5 in the league right now? Wow. That's a great question. It is hard to lose arguably the best center in the league and say that you're still a top 5. I will say we're still a top 10. I will say this. The Detroit Lions are not going to let the center position derail this offense. They're not. This is a big one. Like, this has impacts to Jahmyr Gibbs' run game, David Montgomery's run game. This impacts Jared Goff. It impacts the receivers. It impacts everything. Lions are not going to let this. They're not going to let this fold us up like a tent. But I would say we're top 10. In Mullet we trust, says Kevin Barr. In Mullet we trust. All right, a couple more questions and I'm out of here. We'll see you guys back here in the morning unless something else pops off. If we find out that Alex Anzalone's mulling over retirement, then we got a problem. Then you know, the left shoe dropped, now the right shoe drops, and then we would have a problem. I don't. I don't think that's going to happen, but wouldn't that suck? What if both of these guys are really mulling over retirement? We know one did. That's a good point. Art Vandelay says this is better to happen now than mid-season, and he's just on the IR for half the season. Yeah, that's a really, really, really good point. Really good point. I don't know why I can never see the most recent comment. All right, it says, I think the Lions about to develop quicker routes and deeper dropbacks from Nick P. Dude, that's smart take right there. That is a very smart take. I don't know how much quicker you can get, with the way that Jared Goff's been delivering the ball last season, pretty quick. But the deeper dropbacks, the only exposure I see there is the defensive ends. So I think it's going to be alignment specific where they call that in the line. If the ends are tucked in, you can get a little bit deeper in your drop back. If the ends are, out in a wide 9, I think that you're going to be short and probably stick to three-step drops. Kevin Barr says, do you think the Lions brass knew this was coming? Yeah. So Kevin, earlier in the show, that's what I was addressing, where I thought this has probably been going on for a couple of months. And that's why I just read, this article here, which here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop this in the chat because I want you guys to go read it for yourself and you start to pick it apart and you tell me, there you go. It's in the chat. You tell me what you think. Are you going to, read through the tea leaves, so to speak, and kind of figure out that there was some issues going on? But that's it. I think that, I'm going to sign off for the day. One last thing. Peter Van Laarhoven says, we lost 20 guys during the season. It's next man up, guys. I think that's a good statement to end on. You're darn right, Peter Van Laarhoven. It's next man up, but I'm never going to forget about Frank Ragnow. That guy means a lot to this team, and he's going to mean a lot to this team, I think, even moving forward. Who knows? Maybe he transitions into something in football. Maybe he doesn't. We'll see. But whatever he does, congratulations on a hell of a season. It's too bad you couldn't get to 10 seasons. I know that that's that's the mark that a lot of players want to get to is 10 seasons. But you had a hell of a career, man. And you've helped this team get to that next level. Please, please, please come back for a couple of games when we're making that Super Bowl run. I want Frank to win a ring, man. I really do. So, anyway, it sucks. Have a good day, everybody. Good luck, Frank, moving forward. And next man up, like Peter says. We're going to move forward. We'll see you guys in the next one tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. See you later. Bye-bye.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit.